Welcome to a diabetes nutrition class at Center on the Hill. I'm Kirsten Puskar. My company is Ambler Nutrition because Kirsten Puskar is ridiculous to spell. We have masks on and we're in an all nice safe room. We're going to go over the conversation map for general diabetes. I'm so glad everybody's here. It's good to see everybody in person, even though we have our masks on and it's hard to see. We have a couple people coming online. Welcome, welcome. So let's look at our journey of diabetes. This covers a lot of the general things, just with the pictures. So it's very helpful for me, by the way. So when we start, just so you know, everybody has diabetes differently. Some people have extra sugar coming from their liver. Other people just don't have any insulin coming in. There's hormone things that we have. So know that your diabetes, if your doctor just blankets metformin, and he's not talking to you about the details, and you feel that your diabetes is the numbers are a little higher than you like, talk to the doctor about it first, and then he will pay more attention to you, or you may have to switch a doctor, but I don't recommend that right now. It's just, that you're the one who knows better. The doctor can tell you, oh, that's fine. But if you've been having, blood sugars in the 50s, or, the 60s or the 70s, then you need to talk to your doctor. Your medicine might be too strong. And another thing, if your blood sugar is in the 200s all the time and you're hardly eating anything, again, maybe your medicine isn't strong enough. So there are people who manage their diabetes with diet. It's all about a zone. You want to be in the target range. And the target range for everyone, whether you have diabetes or you don't, is between 80 and 140 before meals. So look at, your blood sugars. If you're waking up in the morning at 39, you're okay. That's fine. I had somebody and they were like, oh my gosh, my blood sugar was 101. Yay! They're like thinking it had to be at 80. That is not the case at all. So 80 to 140 before meals. And I'm sorry, I have a hair in my mouth and it's driving me crazy. Anyway, so is it on my mask? Oh, the other thing is, you're the one in the driver's seat. You know your diabetes best. And, if something isn't right, speak up. That's the most important thing. It says here, no U-turn. This is not true. A lot of people who have prediabetes have been able to reverse out of the diabetes zone. People who are, A1Cs at like 11 or 12, they can get them down to 7 or 8. So that shouldn't be a problem. And I'm sorry, I have to fix this. I have a hair in my mouth that's driving me crazy. So know that there is a U-turn. If your A1C is 8 or 9, you are able to get it down to 7, 7.5. Once you're over 60, trying to get your blood sugar below 7.5 is kind of a waste of time. The same problems that you have at 6.5, you will have at 7.5. So if your doctor's trying to just do all your management through your A1C and he's trying to get you down below 7, just between you and me, you should know that 7.5 is actually a beautiful number. So you're in the driver's seat, no U-turns. There's a lot of myths out there. Michael's joining us today, and he was just telling me people were telling him not to have cheese, and you can't have all the things that make life wonderful, ice cream and all these kind of things, living on salad. So and it's not just you. Many people I've heard talk about this. They think, oh, I have diabetes, now I have to have salads all the time. No, you do not. And we'll talk more about the foods a little bit later. But some other myths are that you can catch it. Oh, your mom has it, so you're definitely going to get it. All these kind of things. It's really just how the health of your pancreas is. Your pancreas is approximately here. Maybe it's over here, but all these years I've been over here. And the things that we can do to make the pancreas nice and healthy is have a balanced meal. So we were talking about that before. You're going to have some fruits and vegetables with the proteins and the grains. It's very important to have a balanced meal. Whether you're having a snack of, maybe you're going to have a snack of grapes or an orange, try to have some nuts with it, just have it be more balanced. There's a lot of facts, and honestly, we know more about diabetes now than we did even 2 years ago. So now is a great time to have diabetes. Yay! And there's a lot of emotions with it, and we need to feel those emotions. So does your doctor, so does your family, everybody. There's a little bit of sadness because you're changing. Your life is going to be a little bit different. There's some anger. but don't feel that you're angry because you've got this. It's more well, you got to feel the anger. Everybody's disappointed and angry. Fear now is a great time. Like I said, if your numbers aren't right or you don't feel good, don't fear hypoglycemia. Talk to your doctors about it. Make sure that you're having a little bit of food when you wake up, a little bit of food in the middle of the day, a little bit of food at the end of the day. If you're eating your dinner at 4 or 5 o'clock and you're not going to bed till 1 or 2, you need to have something between that 5 o'clock and 1 o'clock, 9 or 10, a little snack. It's very important. So don't fear the hypoglycemia. And like I said, if you have one incidence, call your doctor. If you have two incidents, make sure you talk to your doctor, because sometimes you just leave them a message. Make sure you talk to your doctor. Uh, a low blood sugar would be something below 70, like maybe you're in the 68, maybe you're 72, and you feel shaky and confused and uncomfortable. And having something to drink helps a little bit, but it kind of just makes you feel dizzy and out of whack. And sometimes you'll sweat and it will be a cold day. Sometimes, oh, we have a whole thing about low blood sugar. But even if you're thinking this because you don't, a lot of people don't check their blood sugars. But when you have a low blood sugar and you are on medicine, you're, even if you're not on medicine, but it makes you want to eat everything in the whole house now. You're so hungry, you can't think straight. I've had some pregnant women who have gestational diabetes. They're driving their errands and stuff. They miss their turn. That's it. Complete confusion. They don't know where they're going. So the question was about how do you know if you have low blood sugar? And the way you can tell, oh, this is going to be tough. I got to remember to repeat those questions. So the way you can tell that you have low blood sugar is you're just very hungry, you're shaky, you're confused. If you check your blood sugar, you're usually below 70. I had a glucose monitor on me, and in the evening after dinner, after our walk or our exercise or whatever, I'd settle down with the TV, and about an hour in, my blood sugar would drop into the 60s and I was perfectly fine. I didn't have the shake, I didn't have the hunger. So it really depends. And there's other people who will have that feeling in the 90s. If their blood sugar is usually 120 or 140, then it drops down into the 90s, then they feel shaky, confused and things. So it really is unique to yourself. But FYI, the standard thing is your blood sugar is lower than 70, but it depends on yourself. So some facts, some anger, some fear, some guilt. Do not feel guilt. This is just like having brown hair. You can't change it. You're just going to take care of it. If you want to color your hair, well, you have some things to do with diabetes. You want to be active. You want to eat regular meals. I've had this one guy, he loves to garden. He wakes up at 6, has this great big breakfast, and he doesn't eat again until 7 o'clock at night. He and his wife might bring him some water. And now not only does he have diabetes, but he's got kidney disease. So think about, regular food all day long, lots of water, enough that you can sustain yourself. So guilt is something that, uh, you can feel guilty, but don't stress on it because it really is not your fault. It's just like having brown hair, or thank goodness you're not allergic to peanuts or something like that. Yours is more. Hope is big. I wish this luggage here that says hope was big, because there's a lot of new research and medications. Like I said, diabetes is very well managed now that we know how to take care of things so much better than we did in the 90s. In the 90s, all the hope was insulin and metformin, and now we have 8 classes of drugs. So it's really great. Strength, again, I don't know why this is a teeny tiny little luggage, but when you are in control of your blood sugar and your food and your health and you feel great, you have great strength. And strength in numbers too. I'm so glad you're all here, because the more people who have diabetes, you see how different everybody's diabetes is from yours. Denial, this is a doctor situation. A lot of doctors will say, oh, you don't have diabetes yet, and you actually have pre-diabetes. And when you have pre-diabetes, this is a great time to update your diet and your exercise and your lifestyle and your stress so that you can get it under control, and then you won't slip into the diabetes. But the last couple of years, I've been seeing a lot of doctors who are like, oh, don't worry, you don't have diabetes. And let me tell you, I did have somebody in class, this is a few years ago, who was told he didn't have diabetes. He had pre-diabetes and not to worry about it. And then he got diabetes. And then he came to class. And do you know how difficult it is to teach somebody when they're mad? It's very difficult. So, you know, all these feelings are, you know, it's a change in our lives when you start to have diabetes, and then your diabetes is going to change. So many people they'll have one medicine and they take that Volantis and they're doing good all the time. And all of a sudden they need to add a Jardiance or something else to it. And they feel like, oh, I have failed. No, your pancreas is just working as hard as it can and as hard as it can work. So it's just another change in our lives. But as you have lived through the coronavirus and we're all sitting here with masks, I think we're used to having a lot of changes in our life. It is something else. So then I'm going to come over here to, this is your whole body. I know it looks like a library or something, but it's your whole body. And the bulk is a high blood sugar. Like how do we end up with high blood sugar? First of all, there is sugar in your muscles. So when you move around, the muscles will release some sugar so that you can move around. So if you test your blood sugar right 5 minutes into exercise, your blood sugar actually will go up. But after about 10 more minutes, then it will definitely come down. Sometimes it's quicker than that. So muscle has sugar in it. Your liver and the glucose, that's what metformin does. It really cuts back on your liver, giving your bloodstream more sugar all the time. Now that's the job of the liver. When you don't eat at night, you know, you have dinner and you do whatever, and then you go to bed and you sleep for 8 hours and you're not eating that whole time. The liver is what maintains your heart and your lungs and your brain and all of that kind of thing. But sometimes the liver gets out of control. And again, that's where metformin comes in and says, nope, just give them the certain amount. Now, if you have high blood sugar right now, like say you were to check your blood sugar and it was like 250, metformin isn't going to help. It's too late. So you're going to have to drink a lot of water, exercise, burn through that sugar in your muscles and in your bloodstream to get it into the cells, and also drink a lot of water, because that can wash the sugar out of your veins and then you just pee it out. That's what that Jardiance is, the flaxin medicines. And now they're looking at starting people off on metformin, the flaxin medicines, and if it's really bad, the GLP-1s. But instead of just saying lifestyle, you know, eat better and exercise, and here's some metformin, now they're like, okay, let's really get your blood sugar under control. And they start with, well, if it's really high, like your A1c were to be like 11, 14, then they would add that GLP-1. That is the Ozempic. I think you've heard of these medicines. So we have lots of different medicines. The other one is your pancreas. The pancreas has these little cells that make insulin. And I'll just tell you, when you eat nuts and hummus and these kind of plant-based proteins, beans, all the pancreas has to do is give a little insulin. But as soon as you add cheese and eggs and steak and fish, then the pancreas has to give 5 different enzymes: a GLP-1, a DPP4, a pancreatic enzyme, the insulin, and I can't think of what the other one, bile, to digest the fat. But it has a lot to do when you eat animal products. There's been a couple of documentaries. One of them was called Feel Rich, and it was about the rap community. And those guys, you know, they're poor. They're eating crackers for breakfast, lunch, and dinner and living in their cars. And all of a sudden they make it rich. They're having steak every night. What do you think happened? They blew out their pancreas. Now they have, you know, diabetes. And diabetes messes all kinds of stuff, and they're having a heart attack and a stroke at 40 years old. So watch out for the animal proteins. We don't need to have eggs for breakfast and, you know, a huge, you know, roast beef sandwich for lunch and then a steak for dinner every day, snacking on beef jerky and all that kind of thing. We want to break it up. We want to have, you know, some plant-based chili. We want to have some hummus. We want to have beans in your vegetable soup, you know, these kind of proteins, so that we get the protein we need. There is plenty of protein in vegetables. A cup of broccoli is the same thing as an egg. So everyone's like, oh, eat the protein, don't worry about the vegetables. Now, even in the schools, I worked in the Philadelphia school district for a couple months when I was doing my internship. Bless you. And they're not, it used to be, in order to Harrisburg to reimburse the meals, they would have to have some milk. Isn't that something? The dairy board, they really got into that. Well, now the nutritionists figured it out, and no, they have, in order to get reimbursed, every kid has to have a half a cup of either fruits or vegetables. So it can be salsa, it can be an orange. And they even have a box for kids who really don't want to have the salsa on the orange. So they take it and they can put it in the box, and other kids can come and get it. And you know, it gets really popular. I watched that box basically go empty. I was really surprised. One, the kids were taking it, but two, the other kids really weren't leaving it. So, I think that's a really good sign. We really need vegetables and berries and fruits. Berries are little bombs of nutrition, and blueberries are good again. They were a little weird, but anyway, you know what berries are. They're great. Okay, so we got the pancreas gives the insulin, the liver and the muscle gives the glucose. Your intestines has the DPP4 and the GLP-1 enzyme, and those help make insulin last longer. So when you have something to eat, and then you get sugar in your veins, your bloodstream, your liver notices it, and you have insulin receptors on your cells. Salt and magnesium, calcium, they can go right from your bloodstream right into the cells. But sugar is big and it's scratchy and it can't get through. So in order to get through, there's special doors. Hey, there's Anne. So these doors are called insulin receptors. And when your liver notices you got sugar in your bloodstream, the pancreas tells the pancreas, gives some insulin, goes to the insulin receptors, they open the doors, and then from your bloodstream, the sugar now can get through those doors into your cells, and it lowers your blood sugar. So insulin only lasts about a minute or two, maybe 30 seconds, depending. So try that's why you need the DPP4 and the GLP-1, and now we have medications for that. I forget which ones are which. The GLP-1 is definitely the Ozempic, but there's a few other ones. Anyway, so we got the insulin with the pancreas, the intestines have the hormones, the DPP4 and the GLP-1. We have body fat. When you lose weight, well, first of all, body fat is like another person. It has its own hormones. It can affect your mood. It can make you hungry. So having extra, like a lot of extra body fat on you, can mess up with your hormones. I have a guy, he's 450 pounds, and he's telling me how absolutely starving he is at like 3 o'clock in the morning. And he's not starving for broccoli and chicken and stuff. No, he wants chips. He's got to have his chips. And so he was like, to be comfortable, he would have them by his bed. And we talked about this guy, this extra 200-pound guy with him, and he's just got to like fight that jerk, So, being overweight, having that extra body fat on you, it has extra estrogen, extra hormones, extra hunger. It can, give you depression, all kinds of things. So I don't see anybody in that situation. Like I said, this guy is over 450 pounds, but fat, it definitely has its own hormones and can mess things up. Your kidneys are fantastic because this is how those fluoxin medicines like Jardiance work. You drink lots of water, gets all that blood sugar, and the kidneys, in somebody who's not on medicine, the kidneys will actually reabsorb the sugar. And these medicines stop that so that you can pee that sugar right out. It goes right into your bladder and you pee it out. So the kidneys are great for reducing blood sugar. And then our brain, we have the amygdala, the pituitary. There's a whole bunch of little parts in our brains that tell us whether we're hungry or whether we need just balancing our bodies. So our brain is actually very important. There's a medicine for weight loss. It's Victoza for people with diabetes, and then triple the strength. It's called Saxenda, and it's for people with obesity. And it helps them, their brain shut down that hunger, it sends the hunger hormone out. So that's how that works. So there's many ways that our body can end up with high blood sugar besides, just having some cake. And like I said, we can all have cake. Just make sure you're having it with your meal. Don't wait an hour. Have your meal and right away have your cake. That way the protein and the fat and the fiber from the meal won't let that cake get into your bloodstream. Or it will, but it will just be more slowly so that you don't have a big jack. So we're talking about the body, then it comes over here. Know the facts about diabetes with things that can make your blood glucose go up or down. Off the top of your head, besides cake, what's another way that your blood sugar can go up? Do you remember? Besides food. Besides food, what do you think? Illness, definitely. Whether you have the flu, hopefully you don't have COVID, and toothache. A toothache it can raise your blood sugar. What are some other ways that you can? Anne, what do you think? Absolutely, medications like steroids and cold medicine, and there's a few of them that can do things with your blood sugar. There was anti-anxiety. they can also increase your blood sugar. So not that you can't take those medicines, but just be on the lookout that when you're taking those medicines, you're going to limit how many simple carbohydrates you're going to have. You're going to have more vegetables and proteins and, fats and avocados and nuts and things, and stay away just a little tiny piece of cake with a meal instead of the regular size. So medications, illness, like I said, activity. When you start working out, your blood sugar is going to go up first, but then it's going to drop. But it takes about 10 or 15 minutes. So keep at it. If you're going around the block, just keep on going around the block. Stress is a big thing. And right now, this is a big part of what I talk to people. We have to think about our mental health. We have to think about, is this, don't, this is going to be a while. We're going to be wearing these masks probably next summer, maybe even into the fall. So have a nice wardrobe of masks. It's crazy, but we have to think about this as a long-term thing. We want our house to be homey and comfortable. We want our windows to be open. We want to get some sunshine. We want to go out for walks. We want to, if you're in the store and you're not feeling that great, maybe pick up a plant, pick up some flowers, pick up a special. I'd like to say a special treat, but definitely with this special treat, you're going to have it with a meal that has low carbs. So think about these kind of things. But dark chocolate has different enzymes in it that triggers our serotonin, which increases our enjoyment, our dopamine. So don't poo-poo the dark chocolate. If you have a little square a couple times a day, again, with a meal, that I'm not saying you can't have it. I don't know about the milk chocolate. That is quite a lot of sugar. But think about the dark chocolate. You're really looking for those dark antioxidants that help. And so does coffee, grapes. These all are just wonderful things. Vegetables, always vegetables. You're sick of hearing about vegetables, I'm sure. So let's see. Food and illness and activity and stress, alcohol and medicine. So alcohol is the last one. There's other ways, but basically this covers most of them. Alcohol, yes, it might have mixers and might have some carbs, but it's really the actual ethyl alcohol that causes stress on your body. And when your body is stressed, it automatically raises its blood sugar. So if you're going to have alcohol, have it with a meal. Don't have it on an empty stomach. If you're a man, try to have, no more than 2 drinks at a time. If you're a woman, try to have a little less than a whole drink. We have a third of the enzyme that breaks down this toxin, this alcohol, than men do. So men can have 3 beers and walk around. We have 3 beers, we're on our face. So it's just a thing. There are some men that have less of it, and there's some women who can drink more. But generally, it's called alcohol dehydrogenase. It's just one little enzyme. And if they could give it to us in a pill, we would be a whole lot happier, because then it would just we would just digest it. And honestly, if we did have a pill, we wouldn't feel the high of having the glass of wine. So forget about it. Anyway, so alcohol can be part of your life, but definitely keep it with a meal and in moderation. There's some symptoms: high blood sugar and low blood sugar. And high blood sugar, we generally don't notice. We might be hungry, you might be thirsty, you might have to go to the bathroom more than usual. You might wake up in the middle of the night and so thirsty, maybe. Some people have vision issues, some people have headaches, blurred vision, thirst, headaches, frequent urination, mood swings. Most people don't have anything. I had a woman in the office last spring, and her blood sugar was 596, almost 600. It has to be 140 between meals, right? It's almost 600. They didn't give her insulin. They didn't give her these medicines. They just gave her 3 bottles of water. Again, the water washes through the bloodstream and you can pee it out. And then she can go to the hospital if her blood sugar hasn't stabilized. But that's the tricky thing about diabetes. We don't know when we have high blood sugar. And low blood sugar, you might notice you're going to have shakiness and sweats and headaches and mood swings and confusion, hunger, maybe even some nausea, fast heartbeat. You're really just uncomfortable. It's almost like you've drank too much coffee, but you're really hungry too. I've had it a few times when I was pregnant, and you can't recover from it. So the best thing is plan your meals. Have something in the breakfast, have something at lunch, have something at dinner. Check what you've been eating before you go on a hike, or before you do gardening, or before you're, going to be active for the day afternoon. Make sure you have some food beforehand, because like I said, it can ruin your whole day. There's ways that your sugar can go up, like we talked about with medication or toothache, or, eating cake. The ways we make our blood sugar go down. Does anybody remember? What if you're looking and you have your blood sugar and it's about 200? What was, and this is a couple hours after you've eaten. What do you think? Absolutely. You want to exercise or drink some water. That is the best way. The exercise gets more doors on your cells so that they can, these doors are insulin receptors. They can get more of that sugar out of your blood vessel faster, and drinking water again so that your kidneys can wash it away. Then know what affects your blood glucose. Everybody's a little bit different. Some people have high blood sugar in the afternoon. Some people it's 3 o'clock in the morning. So having, testing your blood sugar, if you are in the pre-diabetes range, your blood sugar hovers between, 6 and 7, probably this is not an issue for you. But if your blood sugar is going between 7 and 8, maybe talk to your doctor about getting a continuous glucose monitor. So you can see, you can, I hate to say it, but you can check your blood sugar, like 50 times a day, and you can see what happens. And you can see it going over the week and what happens. I hate to say lucky, but I was lucky enough to wear a Dexcom. And this is just a little thing that goes under your skin. It's a little transmitter on your stomach. And every 5 minutes, I could check my blood sugar, and you only have to be 20 feet from the reader. So I could have it on the windowsill over there and be working in the kitchen or my desk or whatever. And my husband would go over and he'd push the button and see what my blood sugar was. And let me tell you, it got pretty neurotic very quickly. At nighttime, everything was just too much. But the big thing is, for somebody who doesn't have high blood sugar, I did notice that my sugar was higher in the evening, especially after dinner, than it was in the afternoon when I was active, after lunch, per se, and of course in the morning. Even in the morning, it would be high depending on the meal that I had at night. So it's very interesting. And like I said, if you're in the 7 or 8 range, or even in the 9 for the A1c, talk to your doctor and see if you can, he can do it 2 ways. It can be a professional way. You can wear, this is called a continuous glucose monitor, a CGM. You can wear a CGM where you don't know what it says, and then you go to the doctor's office and you can see the patterns, or you can have it where you can see it yourself and go completely neurotic about it. But it definitely helps you prepare for the future. I do know a few people who've worn it only for a couple of weeks so that they can get the gist of how their blood sugar works, made changes, and then they didn't wear it again, and they're doing great. So there's know what affects your blood sugar. Again, checking your blood sugar before you're going on a long ride or before you're doing exercise. You do not want to have low blood sugar out in public like that. Um, what you eat, how much you eat, and when you eat. So we've talked about the food groups, the protein and the fat, with the carbohydrates and the fiber. So the carbohydrates and the fiber are the plants, and the protein and the fat or the proteins, whether it's nuts, beans, or chicken or fish, eggs. So that's what you eat. How much? You don't want to have to be having a snack between meals. So whatever you eat for breakfast, you want it to hold you. If you're eating breakfast around 7 or 8, you want it to hold you until 1 or 2 in the afternoon. And if you're hungry at 9 or 10 o'clock, you probably didn't have enough fiber and protein in your breakfast. So we're going to talk about food more on the second week of the month and the last week of the month. The first week and the third week, we're going to talk more about diabetes, how it works, and the medication. So I know I'm going to have recipes at the end of the month. I'm just not sure if I'm going to do it on the second week or not. We have to figure out what I got. But definitely think about foods that hold you. And often it will be peanut butter toast. It will be a granola with a lot of nuts in it. It will be a protein powder shake with multigrain bread. It will be a sausage hash with onions and peppers and some greens and some sausage. It's going to be more than an egg in a pan. If you're going to do eggs, you're going to have a couple eggs. You're going to have vegetables. You're going to have cheese with it. You want to be full after breakfast, and a lot of people aren't hungry at breakfast time. So even if you're not hungry, just having a couple berries and nuts. The berries are the carbs and the fiber, and the nuts are the fat and the protein. And I was talking with somebody, she never has breakfast. She usually has her first meal around 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and having the berries and nuts, she found she could have her first meal around 2 in the afternoon. It was better for her. And she did have some low blood sugar issues, so that worked out really well. But sometimes you don't need a lot. So what you eat, how much you eat, and then when you eat. Yeah, the when is You want to have something to eat within 2 hours of waking up. The studies are all showing after 2 hours, your body thinks, oh my gosh, you're not going to get food, and it stresses you. And when you have a body that's stressed, up goes your sugar. So you might wake up in the, say, 120s, you're moving around, it drops down to the 80s or the 90s, yay. And then you don't have anything to eat. And so maybe then it gets up to 100 a couple, half hour later. And then within 2 hours, you're back up to 140s. So try to have something, even if it's just berries and nuts, but a bigger breakfast is really a best idea. So what you eat, how much you eat, when you eat, healthy eating, like I said, the 4 food groups: carbs and the fiber and the proteins and the fat. Drink plenty of water, people. Right now, when we're in quarantine all the time, it's tough to figure out how much water you're drinking. I have a glass. Instead of having a water bottle now, I have a glass because I'm at home. And on the glass, I need to have, there's 16 ounces and I need 4 of them. So I put 4 rubber bands on there. And as soon as I drink a glass of it and it goes down, I have to refill it. I take a rubber band off and put it on the counter. At the end of the day, dinner time, I want to see 4 rubber bands on the counter and nothing in the glass. That's the goal. But I've been able to, a bunch of people have said that it's the work for them as well. But just to have a water bottle, and I know I need to fill it 3 times, I don't know, 4 or 5 in the afternoon. It's like, did I fill this bottle today? I know I did it yesterday. So the rubber bands really help. And the rubber bands come on flowers, by the way. So if you buy some flowers, you get some free rubber bands. How does that sound? And then over here we have healthy eating and diabetes medicine. We're going to talk about that on the 3rd week of the month, because like I said, there's 8 different classes of medicine. If you're not comfortable with your medicine, it's too expensive, or it makes you feel sick, or weakness or pain or whatever, talk to your doctor, because your doctor's, he's got 8 different choices. And he also knows what your insurance will cover, what it won't. And if there is a golden medicine that really works for you, but your insurance doesn't cover it, you can talk to the manufacturer and they can give you coupons. I know a bunch of, Eli Lilly does it, AstraZeneca does it, Sanofi. There's a bunch of the companies that you can talk to them and say, hey, I really need this medicine. And they might give it to you just for a year. And then the price might go down, the next year, or your insurance will cover it. Can't tell you how many times we have all of our patients doing so great all the way through the year. And then January 15th, we're getting all these calls. My medicine is $1,000 for a month. My medicine's $800 a month. And that insurance company switched from, the Jardians to the Janumet or something, that's 2 different medicines. But, there's out of the 8 classes, there's at least 3 different ones in each class. So there should be a way that you can get your insurance and your doctor and your health to all be in line. All the stars will align, so you have what you need. And like I said, keep up with talking with your doctor, because things change pretty much every season. There's either a new medicine or a new dose or a new, now Ozempic, which is a once a week injection. You can take a pill. I believe it's every day, or it's once a week. I have to remember, but like I said, it changes all the time. So medicines, it's more than just insulin and metformin these days. And then we come over here. Remember to eat healthy, be active, take your medicines, have your team. Your team is, maybe it's your family, if they're on board with, my nutrition, telling you you can have cake. But if it isn't, if your family is saying, you have to eat salads all the time, then we need to talk to your family. I have my business cards over there. If you want to pick one up, I'm happy to talk to whoever you're having trouble with and give them the lowdown. And that, we have to have a variety of foods, and that's good. Your healthcare team. So besides your regular doctor, you can have an endocrinologist. If you're having trouble balancing your blood sugars and your regular doctor isn't good enough, you can go to an endocrinologist. We have one here, Dr. Gerasi at Chestnut Hill Hospital. She's amazing. But I don't know if you all have been talking. Is she still there? Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah, I've called, and they had to lay off 1,000 people in June, and I was one of the people. I know. But I still get calls from people from the office, saying, oh, we have this patient, call this patient, call this patient. So I'm still in touch, but instead of doing it through Chestnut Hill Endocrinology, I do it through Ambler Nutrition. So, and it's just personal nutrition counseling. So yeah, maybe you have a nutritionist, maybe you have a diabetes educator, maybe you have, I hope you have a dentist and an eye doctor. And if the dentist situation is getting away from you, there is a pen who will do one service for free, or it's a Penn Dental School, or it's Temple Dental School, and they will do a few procedures, but you get a discounted price. So you can check into both of those if your dental person isn't working out. But honestly, dentists are. I think there was a study through the Corona quarantine. They lost something like 80% of their business. So if you have an issue, give them a call. Maybe they can work something out with you. I think they want to see you more. So your dentist you want to see every 6 months. Your eye doctor you want to see once a year. Oh, and I have some news. And one of them is about retinopathy. Retinopathy is where the blood sugar has caused some problems to the nerves and you have vision issues. So we don't want to have that. Family, healthcare team, your friends. Yeah, absolutely. Keep social as, safely. So what do oh, the foot doctor also. I believe with Medicare, you can have your feet checked every 6 weeks. So that's a good thing. But the key is having your blood sugar A1c below 7.5. And I think we talked about A1c last time. Does anybody remember what it really means? It's a percentage. Do you remember what A1c is? It has to do with the red blood cells and the percentage of sugar that is on the red blood cells. So when your blood cells come out of your bone marrow, they're like a cornflake. There's no sugar on them. And then they float around in your sweet blood for 3 months before they die. And they do a blood test and they see how much percentage of that cornflake or that red blood cell is been frosted. And if you have 4 to 5, maybe even 4 to 5.5% frosting, you are normal. You not normally, but you are your insulin is working well, your pancreas is working well, you don't have diabetes. Nobody's normal. I'll just say that. If your frosting is 5.7 to 6.5%, then you're in the pre-diabetes range. And if it's 6.5% or more, like 14% frosting, then you absolutely have diabetes and we need to get it under control quickly. And your doctor should be able to give you the three medicines, the metformin, the Jardiance, or the Floxin, and then the GLP-1, which is the Ozempic. It might not be Jardiance and Ozempic depending on your insurance, but the Floxin and the GLP-1. So that's the way that we can get your blood sugar down really fast. And those medicines can be very expensive, so it really has to go with your insurance. Let's see. So what do we talk about? Seeing your doctors regularly, getting the flu shot. Please think about getting the flu shot. And as for the coronavirus, I'm only going to tell you what I'm going to do. You can make a decision for yourself, depending who the president is. If it's Trump and he says take it and Fauci says no, I'm going to wait for the CDC to say it's good. But if the CDC and Fauci say it's good, yep, I think it's a really good idea. The way that the 6 companies are making this vaccine is not how the polio and the flu and everything is, where they take a part of the virus and the DNA of the virus and they put it in you. Instead, they're doing the RNA. RNA can't hurt you, and it makes your body read that RNA, and then it can make a protein, and that protein becomes the antibody against the disease. So right off the bat, instead of giving you the disease where your body has to make the antibodies, it gives the body the recipe for the antibodies. So you don't even have the disease in you. So I think this is a really smart way to go about it. And from what I hear, the therapeutics, the medicines, the pharmaceuticals are doing a lot of anti-inflammatory, because that's how this virus is working. It totally inflames everything. And if you have a strong immune system, you are sunk. If your immune system is a little bit hindered, those are the ones that are handling it very well. So you cannot imagine how to figure out if somebody's going to feel sick or not with this medicine, or with this disease. So I'm glad we're all wearing our masks. And so your healthcare team is your doctor and your medicines, and taking care of yourself and your friends. And the biggest thing is go for your own personal goal. You know what you feel comfortable at, and if you prefer to be at 6 and you feel great that way, then tell your doctor, no, I'm not going for 7.5, I'm going for 6. I feel better that way. You're going to know if your average blood sugar is causing you more neuropathy, your feet or your fingers hurt, you're having organ problems. If it doesn't bother the nerves in your feet and your hands, then it can bother your stomach. Where gastroparesis, you eat something, 4 hours later, you're still full. You just cannot, you're uncomfortable. So, and if you can reduce your blood sugar, you can improve all of, your eyes and your digestion and your fingers and all the nerves. The key is the nerves. I think you know this. When we have high blood sugar, the sugar is rough and it breaks the little capillaries that feed the nerves. So then we're a little clumsy. We don't feel when we get hurt so bad. Maybe we have a stone in our shoe, or maybe we stepped on something with bare feet. You can get injury that way. And then an infection can come. And your white blood cells don't really know that you've been injured, and you have so much sugar in your blood that bacteria that gets in flourishes with all that sugar. So we really need to keep ourselves clean, wash our feet, keep them nice and dry. If you do happen to get a paper cut or something, put a Band-Aid, put some Vaseline and a Band-Aid on it. If you have Neosporin, research is not clear whether Neosporin is so great. The Vaseline is great. You're going to heal better with it being wet than if it's dry. So yeah, and like I said, when you have higher blood sugar, more, higher than 140 all the time, then a bacteria gets in there and he has a heyday, because all that sugar, the bacteria loves sugar. So I just stepped out of the screen there. Does anybody, I know, so it's about 1:15. Does anybody have any questions? Have I covered a lot of stuff? I think I've covered a lot of stuff. Let me take a quick sip. So at the end of the month, I like to go over nutrition. I like to go over nutrition news. And last week we had some recipes and I just got off track and I forgot about the news. So I'm just going to read. I like it when we can read in the class, but we have to stay away from each other. So I'm going to be doing a lot of talking these classes. I appreciate you guys sitting through this. Some news. I have 5 different little articles. The first one is a Mediterranean diet can have anti-inflammatory effects. Do you guys know about the Mediterranean diet? That it is mostly vegetables and grains, whole grains and whole foods, vegetables and fruits, nuts and seeds and things. Don't you have to get going? Because there's not a lot of sugar and not a lot of animal meat and not a lot of processed foods, the vegetables are anti-inflammatory. So yes.
The grains, they would be carbs, right?
So when the grains are carbs, yes, they are carbs. However, when it's a multi-grain, they have so much fiber and nutrients in there and fats that the whole grains don't act like a refined white rice would.
And tell me some examples, because is brown rice one?
Yeah, brown rice would be good. Quinoa. There's a bunch of them like freekeh and kasha. If you go into the bulk items, you'll see, but barley is wonderful, you guys. We just made a vegetable soup and we didn't have, I think we're gonna put quinoa in it. We didn't have it, so we put barley in. Oh my gosh, I love barley. Little pearl barley, it's still like a whole grain. It's delicious in vegetable soups. Again, you're looking at a half a cup. You don't need to have a whole cup or anything for your meal. And is there another question? Nope. Okay, so Mediterranean diet can have anti-inflammatory effects because it is reducing the processed food, the sugar, and the animal protein, and it's replacing it with whole grains and fruits and vegetables, which is wonderful. The other one is pro-inflammatory diet may increase cardiovascular disease risk. So a pro-inflammatory, oh, I'm stuck to the carpet. There we go. A, a pro a pro-inflammatory diet, that would be something that's full of processed foods and sweet sugars, refined grains, white bread, bagels, all these kind of things. If you look at your week and more than half of it is these refined grains and fruits, then yes. If now when I say fruit, I mean peaches and pineapples and dried fruits and these kind of things. When you get into the berries, they're not as sweet as say pineapples are. So the berries are going to be more in the vegetable range. Okay, so when I say vegetables, that includes cherries and blackberries, blueberries, strawberries, cherries, all that kind of thing. So watch out for these, if you want to tell your friends and that they're eating basically not a lot of vegetables, they're having a lot of processed foods, their cardiovascular risk is going to go up. So that's a big thing. It says a study in the Journal of American College of Cardiology found that diets with high inflammatory potential based on their empirical dietary inflammatory pattern scores, this is processed food and sugar, could raise the risk of cardiovascular disease. Study participants whose diet scored the highest quintile, the highest fifth of the EDIP, whatever that is, had a higher hazard ratio for CVD, cardiovascular disease and stroke than those on the lowest quintile who had more vegetables, in addition to having a poorer lipid profile. So not only did they have a higher risk for vascular disease, but they also had higher cholesterol. Lipid profiles a study found. So that's that one. Okay, artificially sweetened drinks can also raise cardiovascular risk. A study in the Journal of American College of Cardiology linked the both sugar sweetened and artificially sweetened beverages to higher cardiovascular risks when comparing consumers to non-consumers. So people who drink sweet sodas and juices and artificial sweetener compared to those that are drinking the seltzers that are not sweetened, they might be lemon lime, but there's no artificial sweetener in there. They're going to be in the water aisle instead of in the soda aisle. Because you're going to go in the soda aisle and see all these seltzers. They're going to be ice or fresh, or I can't remember the name of it. And then you look on the back and it'll say, stevia or sweet and low or whatever those things are called, aspartame. People who consumed the beverages less frequency still had higher cardiovascular risks compared to non-consumers. So even just having one a day or one a week can bother your heart and your veins. So that was in Cardiology Today. And optimal vitamin B12 dosage for kids, pregnancy, and seniors. So B12, this is a new study. I'll read it. All people under age 25 and over 50, regardless of a diet, should supplement with B12 fortified foods or supplements at 50 micrograms per day. 1,000 micrograms per week if you just want to take one pill a week. But those over age 65, only the high dose supplements were effective. The average minimum was 1,000 micrograms a day. B12 is water soluble. There's no dangerous upper limit. It's hard to absorb B12. So as much as you can get. If you check a multivitamin, it will say it's 27,000 times what you need, because they know it's only a minute. It's on your throat, and then once it goes into your stomach, it's broken up. So you really need to hold it under your tongue. It gets into your blood through your membranes. And the B12 basically helps the red blood cells attract iron, which attracts oxygen, which helps feed all of your bodies. Oxygen is the key to so much of the enzymes that make the enzymatic reactions that make us, like we can flex our muscles, our cells can do whatever they need to do. When you're low in oxygen, it isn't like you're out of breath. It's more like they just don't have the building blocks to do the things that your cells need to do. So think about B12 and think about 1,000 micrograms a day if you're over 65. I don't know if anybody in the room is like that, but we're all here. So but think about the pill, and it shouldn't be more than $3 or $4. And if you're taking it every day, it just goes under your tongue. It pretty much dissolves within 2 or 3 minutes. And if it's under your tongue for 2 minutes, yay, you can chew it and swallow it, you're good. Let's see. The last one is many Americans are unaware of diabetic retinopathy symptoms. So retinopathy, that was with your vision. Only 37% of American adults know that seeing spots or floaters is a symptom of diabetic retinopathy. And 47% were not aware that blurry central vision was also a symptom. We all have blurry vision out here, but when it's blurry here, said the American Society of Retina Specialists. The survey also found that 64% didn't know that high cholesterol raises the risk of diabetic retinopathy, and half were unaware that high blood pressure is also a risk factor of retinopathy. So let's keep our cholesterol and our blood sugar. Our cholesterol, we want it to be under, the LDL is the most important one. The HDL can be whatever you want, but the LDL, you want it to be under 100. So 99, 98, that's great. The HDL, if you can get it up to 100, yahoo, but you definitely want it over 50. Maybe if you're a man, you can have it over 40, but the cholesterol. And the way we increase our HDL and reduce our LDL is exercise and water. So drink enough water and move around. Try to move around after breakfast. Try to move around after dinner. Those are like key. But if don't move around if you haven't eaten. Like a lot of people exercise when they first wake up and they haven't had anything to eat. That really will increase your blood sugar. So watch out for that. Now, I don't know, is there any other questions?
What about making a like a smoothie, like a drink in the morning? Like almond milk.
Yeah, smoothie in the morning is a great idea. But almond milk is fine, but you need to have some protein in it, whether it's going to be.
Put in almond milk, quick oats, walnuts, and cashew nuts.
So almonds and cashews, almond milk, and oats. The oats and the almond milk are the carbohydrate. The oats have a little fiber in them. The walnuts and the cashews, those are going to be the fat and the protein. So you do have all of the nutrients, except you don't have any like berries. If you could put some blueberries in there, or if you like the creaminess of the nuts and the almond milk, and that's it could be delightful. Just have some blueberries on the side if you didn't want to put it in there.
But I use that mostly every day around lunchtime, and it fills you.
Yeah, that is something that you could have every day, and around lunchtime is great, and it keeps you full. You could also have it in the evening if you were just having vegetables for dinner, like half a thing of cauliflower with some drizzle a little bit of oil and some breadcrumbs. That's delicious. Maybe some Old Bay, maybe some hot sauce, whatever you guys like. And then that is a really great nutritious meal, but it doesn't have hardly any calories, but it doesn't have hardly any protein. Maybe the cauliflower itself will probably have maybe 4 or 5 grams, which is decent, but you might need more like 15 grams. And that's where this shake would come in as a dessert full of protein.
What about like beets, and carrots?
So beets and carrots, yeah, beets and carrots are very nutritious. Beets reduce blood pressure. They, instead of having your veins all constricted, they loosen them up and gets a lot more oxygen to your cells, which is wonderful. And there's some study a long time ago in the 90s or something that said onions and carrots and beets are too high in sugar. They're right up there with, well, strawberries and everything, but this is not true. They if you have 2 or 3 cups of them, sure, but I don't know anybody who's having 3 cups of beets. If you're having them in a juicer where you don't get the pulp, yeah, that could raise your blood sugar. But I believe beets are so rich and dark. There's all kinds of phytonutrients in those. So I love it. Absolutely, beets are great, and if you want to put them in the blender, that's great. Yeah, I think that's wonderful. If you want to cook them first, you'll get more vitamin A. Yeah, if yeah, beets you want to definitely cook. Carrots, if you eat a carrot or a tomato raw, you're getting a lot of more vitamin C. If you cook the tomatoes and the carrots, then you will get a lot more vitamin A. So, and lycopene for the tomatoes. So different, have fruit that, or have vegetables, some are cooked and some are raw, because you get different nutrients from it, whether it's a raw cabbage in like a coleslaw or a cooked cabbage. Again, different nutrients that you have better access to. And the best way to get the most nutrition out of these vegetables is have a lot of them, so that your gut biome, in our intestines and our stomach, we have these little bacteria, and they break down those foods so much better, and we get so much more nutrition out of them. So you want to have a variety of foods, include some whole grains, but the same, the barley, the brown rice, the quinoa, they're all cooked the same. 1 cup of grains with 2 cups of water. You can sprinkle a little salt in there, but I do vegetable broth.
Yeah, but the brown rice, it's still long to cook.
It totally takes a long time to cook. And same thing with the steel cut oats. So, you just got to plan ahead 40-45 minutes for the brown rice. I know now at Aldi, I'm seeing that it's already cooked and it's in a bag. You put it in the microwave for 90 seconds. And it's a variety of things. It's brown rice, it's quinoa, it's barley.
Some recipes it said if you cook the whole, oats and put it in about water in it, and just let it sit for the night.
So letting oats also takes a while, especially the steel cut oats, to cook. And a good option is, you don't even need to use hot water. You can take cold Greek yogurt and put it on top of the steel cut oats, and dinner time. And then in the morning, the oats have absorbed the yogurt, and it will swell, and have it with some berries and some nuts, or whatever you like to have it with, some cinnamon. What'd you say? You don't have to cook it. Isn't that amazing? It's the water being absorbed slowly from the yogurt. Um, That is a very good question. Yeah, if it's a quarter cup of oats, then it would be a half a cup of yogurt. I don't think it's 50-50. I think there's a little bit more yogurt than oats. You guys can Google it. I'm so sorry. I don't know the recipe off the top of my head, but there's tons of recipes with all different kinds of ingredients in them. If you want to add more fiber to your meals, you can always add ground flax seeds, and oats and quinoa, chia. Do the same thing. If you've ever had a tablespoon of chia seeds and you put a little bit of oat milk on there, in 5 minutes it becomes a pudding. That gel in your digestive tract absorbs the fats. And also just is so much, it's a really good fiber for the gut biome. So that gel is actually a fiber. It reduces the fats, it reduces your triglycerides. But watch out for the chia seeds, because I think a tablespoon is 100 calories or something like that. There's a lot of oils in the chia seeds, so you don't need much. No, the flaxseed you put in the blender, you grind it up. Yep, and I would buy it ground because it takes a long time to grind it. And also once you buy it ground in the store, keep it in the fridge, because the oil is what's the benefit in that. So you don't have to cook it. You can put it in a tablespoon, or 1 tablespoon with 2 tablespoons of water is a vegan egg. It turns into like a gel. And you only need, a tablespoon per serving. If you're having extra constipation, you want to really get some fiber in you, you can do 2 tablespoons, but watch out. Don't have too much fiber. I don't know. I think this is a good question.
It all sounds like it's an acquired taste.
The biggest thing that's if ground flax seeds are acquired taste, the biggest thing with that is hide it. Put it in an oatmeal where it's already kind of gritty. Do not put it in, what do you say? Yeah, put it in a smoothie where you have some other textures. If you're putting blueberries in your smoothie, you're not going to notice that tablespoon. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, but protein in the morning, getting more food for breakfast and lunch, so that you're full at dinner time. That is the best way to, modulate your blood sugar, lose weight, all these kind of things. If you need to gain weight, sure, have a huge meal at the end of the day with hardly anything during the day. You will definitely gain weight. It's a tough lifestyle. My husband and I are working from home, and now my daughter graduated college and she's there too. And we eat at 1:30. So in a half an hour, we're gonna have, I think we're having meatloaf and borscht. And I found a recipe, I created a recipe with Impossible Burger. So maybe we can talk about that at the end of the month. But yeah, having a big meal in the middle of the day, it's a kind of a pain in the neck because you're kind of making it during the morning, but you sit down and you have it, and then at the end of the day you're really not hungry, and it's just such a relief. You can sit and watch whatever's going on in the news, and you don't have to make dinner. Having a cup of soup or having some salad is always a good thing. So that's just one other idea. Is there any other questions or things you've been thinking about?
Like, for instance,
So the thing is, the whole wheat bread is really doesn't have the fiber and the protein that you need. If you don't like whole wheat bread, then just go with the Italian, go with the sourdough, go with the pumpernickel. They're basically all the same now. If you really want something that's going to have the protein and the fiber, you're going to look at the multigrain bread. At Wegmans, it's called Marathon. At Giant and Walmart, it's called Dave's Killer Bread. There's a bunch of them, and you're going to look for something that has 6 to 9 grams of protein in it per slice. And honestly, if you have 2 slices of that bread, yeah, it might be 15 or 20 grams of carbs. But if you're having lettuce and sauerkraut or something on your sandwich, that's a decent. You can have three servings of carbs. Your body can still handle that. Whether it's 3 pieces of bread or 2 pieces of bread and a fruit, or a glass of milk, a fruit, and a 1 piece of bread, your body can take 3. But after that, then you end up with a higher blood sugar, and your pancreas can't keep up. So yeah, if you want to have 2 slices of bread, I would definitely recommend the high protein ones. And look on theirs, and you'll see white bread has maybe 1 gram of protein, and the whole wheat bread maybe has 2. If you need 15, that's not enough. So having some turkey on there, some cheese. There's a hummus and vegetables, all kinds of roasted vegetables. That's going to be in the food section. So we'll talk about that next week. But it's a pleasure. I'm so glad you all came. I left some business cards there if you want to contact me again, but I'm so glad and we'll see you next week.